Okay, so we did a little deal on dubs, man, and a lot of responses. People saying, "Oh, you shouldn't respond to this dude or that dude." No, I'm gonna respond to you. First of all, I want you to know that you're being heard. Second of all, I want you to know that there's a response to what you're saying. If you're wrong, I'd like you to know the right because I don't want to keep on. If I'm doing something that's wrong or I'm supporting something that's wrong, I don't want to keep on throwing my weight behind it. Somebody tells me, "Hey, this is what the right is," and I look at it and I look into it, and that's what's right. I get to correct to where I'm no longer standing on the side of wrong. And then people tell me, "Oh, Dubs, you just did this to get views." Okay, yeah, I do this to get views. That's part of the whole get down, man. I don't do this to run views off. Matter of fact, talking about views, hit subscribe if you're watching this. Hype it. Go ahead and like us. Um, Here's the get down, right? So Dubs. Why did I choose Dubs to go out of this and hype it up and stuff? The views played a factor. I knew he had a following. Yeah. And so I wanted to go ahead and get that audience. In fact, I want to get the biggest audience I can. But at the same time, Dubs went on there and he talked a little disrespectful stuff about NLR. Okay. So maybe I took that personal, maybe I didn't, whatever. I didn't like it. All right. And I've been reached out to from riders, and you may think they're not a factor. The message to you, Dubs, is that they hear you loud and clear, and that's it. I don't know where that message came from, any of that, and I'm conveying it. Maybe they liked what you had to say when you said they ain't a factor in anything ever. Now, so I didn't like that being said right there because it isn't true. They were a major factor, and they're still a factor in all over the U.S. But that's neither here nor there. Um, So there was that. And then I bring this correctional officer on here to give their perspective because I thought people might be interested in hearing how they view things when they do the get down, right? And there was some interesting stuff said. Like that guy said, you know what? You guys are out there, there's a riot going on, and we're getting suited. We're going out there and we know that we're engaging in that riot. We're becoming part of that riot because you guys are going to turn on us. So now it's a multifaceted, right? There's some information that came from that guy that was pretty good. But then Dub says, "Oh, that dude ain't even a CEO and blah 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 and all this, right?" And so now you just, as far as that, okay, fine. I've been on yards where this guy worked, but so that's that. But he's calling me a liar, but he knows what he's doing. If he doesn't, then you know, yeah, shame on him. But so he called me a liar, you know, and I didn't like that either. It struck me wrong. So you know what? When you start coming at things like that, and you start doing that, and you start getting on these podcasts and making those snide remarks, you ask me, you're putting your fucking name in lights, right? So I see this dude Dubs and his name's in lights, and true to who I am, I want to see what his get down is, man. What's this dude's yesterday look like? I don't care about his tomorrow. Let's see about his yesterday. Look into a little bit, and the screen showed his paperwork up there, okay? And it said it had Mexican Mafia on there. It also had his neighborhood or whatever on there. Okay, so I didn't really pay too much attention, but here's the thing, all right? So, number one, anybody who knows that tip knows that those dudes are smart. They fucking are. They're bright. They look for the best in the brightest. Not only that, they're killers. Not only that, those elite motherfuckers that make that tip are in control of a lot of people, you know? So even though I was coming at it from the angle I was, there was a message in there to kind of help Dubs. Don't make that claim. And if you never have, don't start. It's irrelevant to me. But I wanted all of the controversy, every bit of it, because I wanted the views. You know what I mean? And people say, well, Dubs this and Dubs is doing good, that and doing. Look, man, you're getting on. Here's the thing. I wrote several programs. I wrote books that I gave to a nonprofit. And anything generated from that goes to at-risk youth, goes to incarcerated veterans, and incarcerated individuals. Okay? I don't take a dime. Matter of fact, I'm behind the eight ball on that. I put my own money out of my own pocket into a lot of things, and I don't look to recover it. I don't care. I'm doing just fine. Um, So there's that, right? So yeah, I want this to generate funds, and if controversy is a way that does it, those funds go to buy my books, which go into programs to people. Matter of fact, we're going to put on this green screen the certificates I just printed for the 4 Yard in Lancaster, where these dudes are doing my program. They just finished up denial management. Okay, these certificates go into these dudes. They go into their files. You may think that's not a big deal, but you know what? When you go to board, they have a book that they've written in that I sent into them for free, because I'm going to tell you, rehabilitation, your chance to get free shouldn't be based on how deep your fucking pockets are. So I try to get everything to those dudes for free. So those go into their files, and their book can go into the board when they go to board, and it helps them dudes get out. And Dubs, speaking directly to you right now, I really do this. I'll show you the certificates. You've seen the book on there all the time, the website. Um, it might be one of your homeboys that's doing my program that it helps get out. Might even be one of your homeboys that actually affects some change and helps them stay out. Okay. And so I do that, man. And I'm probably the only one of the bunch that actually puts his fucking program and his money where his mouth is, you know? And I'm looking for ways to build this brand. Sometimes the good way to build a brand is on controversy. So I figured the hell with it, man. This dude wants to put his name in lights. Let's help him do it. He wants to be Dubs, the all that, 2 snow cones and a moon pie, you know. Okay, that's cool. Let me get after him and see if he comes back on. And then if he does, let me challenge him to get in the octagon. See, I know people that fight. I know people that train, and I know a few refs too. And like I said, I'm an old dude. I got one left in me, but I'll give it to him and we can film it, right? I'm just looking at this in the octagon, MMA rules, you know. Once they stop the fight because I slept him in the ring, I'm not going to put boot to him and try to stomp his teeth out and put his nose around the back of his head so every time he takes a step, he has to smell his own ass. I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm just going to sleep him, and then we'll make the agreement that the winner gets the footage for their podcast. And all the viewers that he's got can come watch my podcast in order to see how that really went, you know? And then after he gets out of the hospital, if he wants a run back, I'll give it to him. So I threw that out there and it's nice and legal. I'm not talking about getting in the alley with him and chew his big toe off and all that shit, man. I'm talking about getting in the ring in a fair octagon fight and doing some MMA stuff and just seeing who's got it real from the shoulders. Because once upon a time, I was half tough, and I think I got half of that left in me, you know, and I think that's all I need. Really, I think that's all I need for 2 Dubs, not just one. So I'm up for that, you know, and that's on the real, and I'm just trying to think of ways to generate funds, not for my pocket, okay? This isn't trying to generate funds to help people that are in prison, to help these kids, man. And anybody's willing to ask anybody that knows me, I don't pull a dime out of any of this. I push it all towards what I'm saying. I'm an open book for it. People check my books. I don't care. I'll put it. I'll publish a book on where all the money's went. Not only that, I'm getting ready to settle a lawsuit where I'm taking my end of the settlement. There's 3 people involved, but I'm taking what I'm getting and donating it to the website to help these cats based on a true story. So this is just the real deal right here, and that's what I'm about, and it's who I am. So yeah, I got on here and I went after old Rub-a-Dub-Dub, you know what I mean? And I did that. People said, "Oh, it's just for views." Well, it wasn't just for views, but views was a big thing. I didn't do it with him to try to run people off of viewing my program. No, I did it because I want the views, and I knew he had a following. And once they seen me get down, if they liked some of my other videos and they liked where I'm going with stuff, not that I could steal his viewers, you know, but secret I've learned is that a lot of people watch more than one show. So I'm not out to steal any viewers from anybody, but I sure wouldn't mind sharing them with somebody, you know. And there's some good stuff going to come down. Also, I got this guy Kenneth Nolan. All right. And I said he's a death row prisoner. He was on death row. Okay, he is sentenced to death. And I got somebody in there says, "Oh, anybody who knows that there is no more death row." Okay, so let's split hairs. They shut the death row down in San Quentin. They let those guys out to the lines. Those guys are out walking the lines. But what they didn't do was take that death sentence off of them. And you can look up anything I'm saying. If they were sentenced to death when they got taken off the shelf and allowed to go out there and work and stuff, they're still sentenced to death. So this guy's got Kenneth Nolan, Thunder, and you can look him up. He's sentenced to death, and he's still sentenced to death. They're going to drop that smoky pill on him or hit him with a hot shot at some point down the line if they bring it back and he's still alive and his turn comes at the plate. It's going to happen, and I wanted to get in his head a little bit, and we'll talk to him more. So all this splitting hairs about, oh, death row don't exist, you know what? The death penalty does. Death row may not. And if this new governor comes on and decides that, you know what, I don't want these fucking dudes out there walking amongst people, he'll open the shelf right back up and stick these dudes right back on death row. Won't take much to turn the tide either, because a couple of them death row dudes got out and hit somebody and killed somebody or something. That's a political animal. They're going to be looking to exploit that. So, I mean, that's just what goes on. And there's going to be some good stuff coming on this podcast. So yeah, I tried to share his his viewers, and I deliberately set out to target him because he has 90,000 viewers, and because I didn't feel right about the stuff that he said, and I figured that we might be able to get some publicity out of a good old, one of them, and I was willing to do it. Win, lose, or draw, I'll respect the agreement we made, but I think I'll win. Matter of fact, I know I will. But in any event, that's where that's at. And if we don't get to get in the octagon, then we don't get to get in the octagon. If he is helping people, I support that. I support anybody that's helping these dudes get out of prison and stay out. I support anybody that's going in and talking to you or doing any of that. You know what I mean? And nobody's perfect. We all stray from the path of helping people. We all get on here and we do things that not everybody's going to agree with and whatnot. And that's just the way it is, I think this podcast is going to take off because you'll never know what tomorrow brings here. I got no topic I'm going to get stuck on. There'll be a lot of convicts and prisoners and ex-gang members and active gang members and stuff come on here and talk. There'll also be a lot of, like I'm trying to get Charlie Manson's daughter on. I'm trying to get the kids of a couple people that were incarcerated on to give a perspective on how it affects the life of a child to watch their dad go away for 30 years. You know what I mean? And really get in and talk about that. So, yeah, I do look for views, and I'll get them where I can. Controversial topics and all that is not something I'm going to shy away from. If somebody puts their name in lights, like they want me to get on here and put them on blast because that'll get me some views, guess what? You're on blast. That's just the way it is. That's the way it's going to be. So, guys, enjoy this interview coming up right now. It's with Kenneth Nolan. You can Google his name. You can DuckDuckGo it, whatever you want to do. It'll come up. And he is sentenced to death right now as we speak. And he was on the shelf. The shelf really doesn't exist. No more people that are on death row. There is no death row, but there's still death. And it's prevalent. They're sentenced to it. And that Grim Reaper stays in their hip pocket until somebody takes it up off of them. Thanks, guys. I'm going to give a little outline of who we're talking to right now and whatnot. And his nickname's Thunder. I know him as Thunder. We call him Thunder. He's going to give you his whole address, name, number, everything when he gets on here and tells you his story. And I'll give you a little synopsis right now. For those of you that are youngsters and out there and you think you're in some kind of criminal gang and all this right there, let me tell you about this man. He went to prison on a robbery. He's now sitting with a death sentence. You may think you're running down the street to jack fucking homie with the weed bag for his weed, and you're going to go in there and catch yourself a little robbery because he's going to tell on you because that's what they do. Now you go to prison, and once you go to prison, what you do with your future and your destiny is you bundle it all up and you hand so much of it over that you no longer have control of, and things can happen. This man went from a robbery to death row, and he's going to tell you his story. It's an interesting one. It's a good one, and we may have to do several calls back because he's calling in from the California Department of Corrections in Stockton. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to put Thunder on right now, Kenneth, with you guys, and we're going to let him tell you his story. And hopefully, we can get some dudes that are thinking about the wrong thing, doing the right thing, and we can save a couple lives that way. And there's a ripple effect. And when you do that, it touches a lot of people and a lot of lives. Hey, Thunder, go ahead and Man, take it from here. Go ahead and give us your story, man. Let us hear about it.
All right, brother. All right, brother. So my name is Kenneth Thunder Nowlin, Nowlin, CDC number T is in Thomas 60415. I'm currently in Stockton in the California prison system, and the PO box is 213040, Stockton, California 95213. But I could be reached through a GTL Getting Out messaging app or GTL Getting Out visiting app for video calls. And check this out. I'm 45 now. 45 now, and I've got about 30 years in the system. I did 5.5 years in YA from 15 to 21, and I got out for a couple months, and I came right back into prison because I was institutionalized. Knew no other way. Came back in 21, and now I'm 45. Originally, it started off as 9 armed robberies. I had a little over 300 armed robberies. The cops knew about 86. They wanted me to close the book on all 86, meaning give them details so that they know it's me, and then they could say case closed and charge me with 9. So I got 26 years for 9 armed robberies. As soon as I got my time, they sent me back to Nevada to go get my time out there. While I was in the county jail out there, Clark County Jail, I cut somebody's throat 3 times.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I cut somebody's throat, and I got 6 to 10 years. And their system's a little different. They'll give you 2 numbers. And a year and a half later, after I came back, I seen him in reception prison. And anytime you get into it with somebody, if you see them again, you don't know if they're going to attack you or if you got to attack them. So I wasn't going to wait for him to attack me. I jumped up on him, wrapped my legs around his waist, put my head in his armpit, and started carving on his face. He ended up filing a lawsuit against me in the state of Nevada. It's called Reggie Teague versus the state of Nevada and Kenneth Nowlin. I don't know whatever became of that because I think it's still in progress, even though it was fucking forever ago. But I got 4 more years for that. I had 10 years total for robberies. So I really had like 24 years out there. And because of all the violence that I was getting into, they held an emergency board hearing in the middle of the night, like 3 a.m. And the commissioner was there and a bunch of other people. And the bottom line was, Mr. Nowlin, you pose a risk and danger to our institution and the inmates here, so we're going to parole you early. You bring too much racial tension and violence. And I said, you're going to parole me early? And he says, yeah, California. And I thought I was going home. I'm like, oh, wow, they don't know I owe time out there? But really, they were just talking about sending me back to California prison. And that was fine. I was done with Nevada anyway. So I did about 5 years out there, and then now 5.5 in YA. And just as I hit the California prison, let's see, that was in 2006, 2005. It was in 2005, December 2005 was when I got to Calipat. I got to like Tracy and Chino earlier that year, but it was Calipat. And by May, I'd had enough of that place. And in my head, I thought to myself, you know what? I want to rise up in this fucking gang shit. I want to rise up in the politics so that I can change things from the inside. You know, like the system was bad. It was predatory. It was a horrible system, and I didn't like it. And guys, brand new guys from the streets would come in, and they were being told to put in work. And that ain't how it's supposed to be. You know, lifers and condemned, they're the ones that are supposed to put in the work, not these guys. So I figured if I could rise up in status, I'd have the keys everywhere I go, and then I can make changes. And I can make sure it ran how I wanted. So
let me give them a little. Hey, Thunder, let me give these cats a little idea of what Calipat was like back then. There was a time in Calipat when the cops were so out of line, snatching people, throwing them down, acting crazy, that all races threw a peace treaty down and came together, and they started whacking cops because they were, and ended up with the CDCR COs out front picketing, talking about they didn't pay them enough to work in a prison so violent and all of that. So Calipat at one time was, at around that time, was a very, very violent place. So you're in this violent place and you're thinking that, you know what, I can change things from the inside and go ahead and pick back up from there. I just wanted to give the people a little synopsis of what Calipat was like back then.
In order to change this from the inside, in order to gain that status, I'm going to have to really catch the eye of the brand. The brand, they had control of the prison system at the time, so, and still do. So I told myself, pick somebody, but make sure they have it coming. And I did. I spent about 3 days finding me a cop, and he did some foul shit. Doesn't even really matter what he did. Cussing at me, turned off the phone, some other shit. I had his number, drawn since I had made up my mind, so it didn't really matter what he did. That was just an excuse. And I came out with 602 at the grievance in my hand. Now, we were in handcuffs at the time, so I was behind my back, and I had handcuff keys that I made. I make the best handcuff keys in this system. I opened up my cuffs, threw them down on the floor, acted like I still had my hands behind my back, and I'm waving a 602, and the gunner draws the gun on me and tells me if I take another step, he's going to shoot me. So I just shut my eyes, and I start stepping down these stairs, thinking I'm going to die. And he pulled the gun off me and went over where they were doing meds at, and they were also doing worker showers, and my cellie was a worker doing his shower. So I went down there to the table where I had some beef with this guy, and I pulled my hands in front of me. I quit playing like I was cuffed up. I put my hands in front of me. He didn't even notice that I wasn't cuffed up, and I waved this 602 at him. Well, pinched in between my fingers was a double-bladed razor that I had made up in a way, no handle or nothing, in a way that I could be holding that paper and holding the weapon, so that when he pulled the paper and his eyes followed that paper, he wouldn't see my hands reaching for any weapon. And I kept my hand right by his face, and I kicked with my bottom left foot. I kicked his fucking chair that was on rollers, and he turned, and I got from behind him, and I tilted his chin, and I cut his throat. He lived. He got 20-something, 26 stitches. It cut off part of his ear, cut down his cheek, and across his throat. They say that the only thing that saved him was how big he was. He used to say and claim that he was a cage fighter, and he used to fight pit bulls, and he would do all this crazy shit, and he was big and bad. But really, his fucking neck was fleshy. His whole body was fleshy. Because as soon as I did that, I dropped the weapon. He got up. I grabbed a hold of his vest, and I threw him into the shower. I went to look for the weapon. I couldn't find it. I looked at him. He had got back up off the ground, pulled his pepper spray out, and he went to go pepper spray me. And I ran at him, and I jumped up, and I was trying to kick his face. Okay, I could kick pretty good. But I missed his face and hit the pepper spray, which is just as good. And it knocked it to the side, and I kicked him again in the stomach. And he notes these injuries on the write-ups. I have all these write-ups and paperwork coming your way. I have someone on the street that's holding it, putting it together, so you can put it up next time I come up on the show.
Yeah, and if anybody has questions, we'll blast it on the green screen,
gruesome.
one thing after another for them, so they can see. But like my guests know, they're a pretty good judge of character. They know the real Don Steele from the fakes and the frauds, and they know you're telling the real, or you wouldn't even be in here talking to me right now. Go ahead and finish, brother.
Yeah. So I took this cop out, beat the fuck out of him, and then for 3 days, while still in shackles and cuffs, inside the little closet, I got pepper sprayed and stomped out and beat up so bad that I never touched the cop again. But that first attack that I had on that cop was so brutal that I never had to touch another cop again because it's in my 114 file. 114 file is the building file. Your C file is in a safe place. It has everything. Your 114 file just kind of has stuff that it needs to have for the building cops to understand who you are, and they've got to sign off on it every day. And every day that they open that, there's a red flag right there, pictures of him, and then saying exactly what I did. Now I had a date. I had 26 years, and I got 14 years for that. So that brought me up to 40 years. 3 years later, I go to Tehachapi Shoe. Well, I was in Tehachapi Shoe already. I went to Tehachapi Shoe from there. And in 2009, I picked up an institutional murder. We call them in-house. So
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And the DA only wanted to give me LWOP, but I wanted the death penalty because I had been in isolation at the time for 12 years right then. I ended up doing 18 years total in isolation straight, but at that time I had done 12, and I wanted out. And death row, I had heard you get contact visits, phone calls, all kinds of privileges. You come out without cuffs. Some of it was true, some wasn't. I ended up going to death row, and I was on death row for 12 years. I want to say 12 years. But a law got passed recently saying that we're all entitled to jobs, all of us who are condemned on death row.
Yeah. Hey, for the audience, we just brought the picture up.
Out to other prisons.
Hey, Thunder, for the audience, we just Googled on the phone the picture of the cop you Tommy hawked, right? He cut his throat. And it's there.
Yeah.
It'll all be, we're going to flash this all on this green screen behind while you're talking this stuff. There's going to be no doubt about your credibility, whether what you're saying. Yeah. I don't mean to keep interrupting. Let's give them the rest of the story.
You know, I mean, everyone in prison
has 60 seconds remaining.
Okay, so here's the deal.
All the fellas in prison know, but, you know, for the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me a call back because you're going to just have 1 minute. So you're going to have to hang up. You're going to have to call back and I'll accept it. But we're just going to keep on rolling while you're doing that. All right, big dog.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got you.
Mm-hmm.
I was fucking like, wait a minute.
Okay, so we're still on. We're going to keep on rolling and keep filming. So while I'm talking to him and he's telling you his story about Tommy Hawk and this CO, just for a little fact check. My sound guy over here and everything, Sam, man, he Googled it up and everything. Guess what? Here comes old Zipper Neck himself. And I'm going to be honest with you. I've seen and known a lot of cops, and I give a good cop his due. If he's a good cop, he's a good cop. But I can tell a good cop and a bad cop from a mile away. And this dude looked like a fat dick sucker, if you ask me, a fucking prick. No wonder he got it.
Global Telly, you have a prepaid call
this
from.
Is him calling back. And we're going to take his call, and he's going to give you the rest of the
Healthcare Facility, Stockton, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call,
like you say, you never know what's going to come down the pipe on our show. We're going to keep it interesting, and we're going to keep you guessing.
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
All right, Thunder, you there?
Yeah.
Okay, take it away, homie. So you're in Tehachapi and you catch that in-house murder.
My whole goal was to be the biggest, baddest, most violent motherfucker there was, so that nobody could question my authority. On top of that, I had a brain like a steel trap. Man, my mind works like nobody's business, and it's from 18 years of isolation. When you do isolation time, you learn to think for yourself. You're not told what the answers are. You don't have to memorize things and regurgitate it. I learned my own ways. I learned my own systems. I figured things out with my own brain. Sometimes it's the right answer, sometimes it's not. But it's not the right or wrong answer that matters. It's the journey there and all those fucking sparks in your brain that snap along the way. So the brain knew I had the violence. They knew I had the mind. And so everywhere I went, I got the keys to at least the building I was in, if not more. But that's not like, a lot of people think that's great, and it's not. It was part of my plan, but it's not a good thing because it's a lot of responsibility, and if it's not done properly, if it's not executed properly, you're going to have a fucked up program and fucked up things happen. But I knew how to run a program, and I knew how to fucking keep peace, and I knew how to make money, and I knew how to be violent where violent need to be. And I started implementing my own rules, and I started taking hits that these youngsters that were getting out would have to have taken. You know, and I started making it so that they could get out and do their thing, and we could stand here and do our thing. And that was the whole goal. But when I got to corporate shoe, after Advocacy shoe, I was with the fellas, and I got behind the scenes. I'm doing all their kites, coding all their kites. I had a code system that could beat the FBI cryptologists. And I'm seeing what's really going on. And hits were happening on people for personal reasons and claiming that it was sex charges, or they're telling, or this or that, or wait on the paperwork, it's coming, just hit them now. And I'm seeing a lot of stuff that I was raised against by these people. These people raised me against such actions. And yet here they were doing it themselves behind the scenes. And then all the drugs, like, they were sabotaging perfectly good new people coming in for more drugs, bring them back. They might send somebody, okay, they got this new guy comes in, and they say, hey, man, you're brand new. We don't know if we can trust you or not. So check this out. Here's a handful of drugs. Put that up your butt, assault somebody, and go to the back and give it to the big homies, and we'll know you're down. That's basically what they were doing. And I wasn't cool with that. I had other ways of getting stuff back there. I had other ways of making shit happen. And it was just a matter of expressing it. And I was close enough to them to be able to tell them. So I did. And they loved ideas. And we started ideas. And there was a lot less predatory actions. And things were going in a good direction. And I was having that effect that I always wanted to have in the system in changing it. But things just went real bad the more I seen and the more that was revealed, and I didn't want any part of that. And on my 128G, it says that during one committee, I said that I no longer want to participate in prison politics, and that was it. I walked away, and that's all it takes. Some people think you got to tell, you got to turn in shit, you got to do this, you got to do that. You got to fucking go out asshole backwards. You ain't got to go out asshole backwards just to give up doing the bad shit.
No, things have changed. It used to be you had to, but things have changed now. You don't have to.
Yeah. I felt myself like I could not support what I was seeing as much as I wanted to, because I had just sacrificed my whole life for this. I just took 14 more years. I just took the death penalty. I just took a bunch of time, and I'm never getting out, all to do this. And then I seen it for what it really was, and I didn't like it. You know, it's for some other people, but it's not for me. I was a skinhead, so like I was really about our people, and I felt like they were being targeted.
So you were a war skin, right? White Area Resistance.
Monitored and recorded.
Were you a war skin?
Yeah, a war skin.
Yeah. I thought I'd seen that because when you say your skin, it entails a lot. Sadistic skins, P9s. You were war, and so a lot of people know what that means. But yeah, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, so I ended up backing out, getting out of the way, because it came to the point where I was either going to have to rally all the skinheads up and go against these people to change this system, in which when you start interracial wars, or when you start wars within your own people, then you're weak. And then other races can jump in, and then they could take the chow hall tables, or they could take the areas on the yard that you want, or that you guys have, that you fought all these years for. like territory is fought over in prison. And the worst thing to do is fight between your own people when they see that as a weakness. So I wasn't going to put our people through that. I didn't have that big of an ego that I had to. So I stepped back, and I figured one day I'll make the changes I need to make. I'll be able to influence things the way I want to influence them, using words, reason, logic, and debate, not violence. Because my whole history was all about violence, and violence being the key to gain power. But that's not how it should be. It should be using your words, learning how to reason, logically think, and debate with somebody to get the things that you need or want. And if you can think and do those things, if you use words instead of violence, just imagine the things that you can achieve. But a lot of people don't have the schooling or the know-how. Maybe they skipped that, or maybe it wasn't offered. Maybe Word of the Day wasn't there, debate clubs weren't there, poetry clubs weren't there. But we can make that here in the system. We can push that kind of stuff here in the system and push it away from violence.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you something, because I'm wondering this, and if I'm wondering it, I'm pretty sure there's other people that are wondering it. You're still sentenced to death. You may be out because Newsom released all the death row prisoners out to the lines and stuff now, so people are out there. You're out there, but you're still a condemned man.
Well, I'm still sentenced to death.
Yeah. So if this new governor comes in and wants to fire up the death row again and start putting the fucking needle or the gas to people. Okay, so I'm wondering this. You're sitting there.
The likelihood of it happening?
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering, does it ever cross your mind that you might yeah, but it might be small and slim, but there's that window. And do you ever sit back and question yourself and think to yourself
this call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded?
That there may come a day that you're sitting inside that fucking chamber and leaning over at that pill as it comes down the chute and taking that big breath? Does it ever, do you think, what are your thoughts on that, man? I'm just wondering does it fuck with you? Do you think about it? Do you ever dwell on it? Do you get caught in a funk behind it?
The way the system is, from day one, it takes 30 to 40 years to execute a person. I'm on year 15, 14.
Right.
It's something like that. But most likely what ends up happening is they offer you a new trial. But trials cost millions of dollars. And old evidence is lost. And old witnesses are hard to track down. And they don't know what they said before. They don't know what they'll say now. So the DA does not want a new trial. So they throw 30 or 40 or 50 years at you. They'll say, hey, Thunder, we'll give you 40 years time served. And the reason it's time served is because you do 6 on 10. So that's 12, that's 24 years on 40. So from the day of the murder that I got the death penalty, I had already been down a bunch of time. But from that day in 2009, from 1929, no, let's see, 2009, 1929, 31, 2, 3. Okay, so around 33. So around year 2033. If they wanted to stay 40 years, right? But I wouldn't take that. 40 years from my other time is fine, but I pretty much already gave them 40 years on my other time. I gave them 24. Yeah, I gave them 24, so that's 40 years. So on the original case, so if they was to come at me, I wouldn't take 40. I'd rather take it to trial because it's not even a death penalty case.
Right.
I made it a death penalty case by cussing out the jurors, by cussing out the judge, by flinching at the jurors, making myself look like a monster. I refused to let them have a penalty phase. I didn't allow a single witness to be called on my behalf as far as my character. I had threatened my lawyer that if he called a single witness, I came out of my cuffs and I would stab him. And I did this because I did not want to stay in the shoe forever. I wanted to go to death row, and that's what happened. I went to death row. It's all been part of the plan.
Now, right, so yours was a different experience when they slammed that hammer and said, I sentenced you to death, than a guy who was fighting it. You weren't fighting it. You didn't care. This, but the way
I wasn't fighting it, I had to fight to get it.
Yeah, the way I see it is that a little bit of this is a coping mechanism that probably a lot of condemned people use. That they got their appeal. They're not going to die in the chamber with the gas. That they're going to win in a new trial, and this is probably a coping mechanism for guys that are actually going to make that dead man walking trip one day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I didn't have so much action, then I'd probably be pretty worried, right?
Yeah.
But I've got, my action has action. I have so much action. And look, they really did not want to send me away. I had to bring up my connection with Charles Manson in order to get them to really start labeling me a monster and bad guy.
Yeah.
Up to that point, they were looking at me as a product of my environment. Like for me, he was just institutionalized, had a bad life, this and that. But as soon as I threw that connection in there, oh man.
And you know what? In another session like this, we're going to talk all about that connection too, about the whole Manson family connection and all of that. And did Charlie really get the shaft? Was he just really a squirrely individual, and those dudes did what they did, and they wanted a figurehead to hang it on? So we're going to do another episode on that. Maybe see if we can't get Charlie's daughter to come on with you or something, and we can do a little session on that. That'll be on down the line. And we're going to keep this nipped in the shorter ones, because people got at me and said they like these half-hour sessions. But you're going to be on here a lot with us, because I think you got something to say that could help these kids and these at-risk youth and some of these wayward adults get their shit together, man, because it can end in a bad place. And you brush shoulders with some dudes that didn't want to die, and now they're looking at the gas chamber. I want to ask you something. Out of this whole thing, if there's a message, one thing you want to get across to the public and society and whoever's viewing this, what would that one message be?
Great question. It's this. Hollywood and the media, their job is to mesmerize everybody. And when they show prison and when they show jail and they show these reality shows or they show movies about the place, all that shit is gained to glamorize it.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
To make it seem like it's awesome, and you'll gain status if you get out and you have that behind you and this and that. But it's not awesome. It's not glamorous. It's a horrible, lonely place. You lose all your people. Everyone you ever loved, one by one, they fall off. Every person that you ever loved, they disappear. And it hurts, and it hurts, and it hurts, and it happens time after time after time.
Okay, hey, brother, give me a call back later on this evening after they lock you down, cut it down, and turn you back on, and we're going to chop it up, and we're going to set up our next session that we're going to have for these guys. I think I'm going to try to bring you on once a week for everybody to get a chat with. We might even do some live stuff, all right?
All
right, man, I'll talk to you later, man. I cut him off right there. That's perfect timing. All right, go ahead and